This leads me to a final point. There will be times when the breakdown of societies is so great, the violence against civilians so substantial, that the international community will be called upon to act. This will require new thinking and some very tough choices. While the United Nations was designed to prevent wars between states, increasingly we face the challenge of preventing slaughter within states. And these challenges will grow more pronounced as we are confronted with states that are fragile or failing. Places where horrendous violence can put innocent men, women, and children at risk with no hope of protection from their national institutions. I've made it clear that even when America's core interests are not directly threatened, we stand ready to do our part to prevent mass atrocities and protect basic human rights. But we cannot and should not bear that burden alone. So we live in a world of imperfect choices. Different nations will not agree on the need for action in every instance, and the principle of sovereignty is at the center of our international order. But sovereignty cannot be a shield for tyrants to commit one murder, or an excuse for the international community to turn a blind eye. While we need to be modest in our belief that we can remedy every evil, while we need to be mindful that the world is full of unintended consequences, who are we to believe that today's challenges cannot be overcome, when we've seen what changes the human spirit can bring? Who in this hall can argue that the future belongs to those who seek to repress that spirit rather than those who seek to liberate it? I know what side of history I want the United States of America to be on. We're ready to meet tomorrow's challenges with you, firm in the belief that all men and women are in fact created equal, each individual possessed with a dignity and inalienable rights that cannot be denied. That is why we look to the future not with fear, but with hope. And that's why we remain convinced that this community of nations can deliver a more peaceful, prosperous, and just world to the next generation.
And I've got a red alert to share with you guys today, and that is this. Not only is the country of China now attempting to destabilize the United States of America from within by infiltrating our schools, our colleges, our businesses, our law enforcement, pretty much even our government, every aspect of society. Not only that, but now China has just issued a terrifying warning to the United States of America, and this is coming on the heels of their destabilization plan. But before I get into any of that, I gotta remind you, get to restrictedrepublic.com. I am going to be airing a bombshell video report on what happened with the Maricopa County audit here. Hey, bombs away. China must hit the United States with nuke attack before they strike if Biden defends Taiwan, says diplomat in chilling message to the West. And you can see this is very recently published, the 24th of September, 2021. Now, the article goes on to state that China must make the first nuclear strike against the U.S. if Joe Biden continues to defend Taiwan, a top Chinese diplomat says. Beijing's former ambassador to the UN, Xia Zukang, said the country's longstanding promise to only use nukes in retaliation should be re-examined in response to the new alliances forming in the region. The article goes on a little bit further, and this is what he said specifically. The unconditional no first use is not suitable unless China-U.S. negotiations agree that neither side would use nuclear weapons first, or the U.S. will no longer take any passive measures to undermine the effectiveness of China's strategic forces. The strategic pressure on China is intensifying as the U.S. has built a new military alliances and as it increases its military presence in our neighborhood. So here we have a Chinese, right, a top Chinese diplomat who is going on record saying, you know what, let's just scrap the policy of we're not going to, basically, they're going to scrap the idea that we don't send a nuke unless you send a nuke. So if you nuke us, then we'll nuke you back. Well, let's just scratch that. And now, instead of that policy, let's just have it where we can nuke you. It doesn't even have to be a retaliation nuke. This is downright terrifying, especially in light of the turbulent relationship that we have going on. Now, either way, what we do know, since what I've been studying, or let me say it this way, what I believe is that Biden, through Hunter Biden, his son, and even some of the dealings that they've done, we've seen the influence that China has on Joe Biden, right here in the U.S. So can you imagine what kind of backdoor deals are likely happening right now with Joe Biden? And that's why I think a lot of the destabilization plans that China has implemented over the years has become stronger and stronger and stronger, because here's the end game for Communist Party, right? Infiltrate from within, destabilize the country, make them ripe for war or ready for war. And it feels like that's exactly what's going on here. It feels like that to me, right? And here's what I'm talking about. Take a look at some of the things that China has infiltrated throughout the years right here in the U.S. Access.com. Exclusive. Suspected Chinese spy targeted California politicians. That was Eric Swalwell, right? He was compromised there by a Chinese spy. Then we also have Fox News. Mike Pompeo warns governors of Chinese infiltration into the U.S. It's happening in your state. Then we also have Washington Examiner. And some of these, and this is written in 2021, but how the Chinese Communist Party is infiltrating local U.S. government. Then we have FoxNews.com, China accused of efforts to infiltrate U.S. colleges as GOP actually launched a probe over this. Then we also have Fox Business, Chinese spies infiltrating U.S. law enforcement, businesses world a real threat, NYPD commissioner says. BreitbartNews.com, exclusive, Mike Pompeo says China is infiltrating our government, our businesses, and even our schools. And DailyWire.com, here we have Liz Cheney asked the DOJ to investigate whether China and Russia are infiltrating U.S. environmental groups. Not really care for that woman very much, but there you have it, right? So here we have China, according to a lot of these reports, infiltrating our schools, infiltrating our businesses, our law enforcement, even our politicians, right? So this is how they are working their destabilization policy. And this is why you see such a rise of communism in the United States of America. And that's not all. You see, one of the main cards that China has been playing over the years is the woke card, wokeism. This is a straight up spawn from the Communist Party, and this is how they're destabilizing our country, and it's working, right? Unfortunately. But that's why we have to start waking up to these woke policies. But here's a great article on it. This is on the EpochTimes.com. China is using wokeism to erode U.S. democracy, author says. And this was written September 17th, 2021, so very recently. And he says, the communist regime in China is using wokeism as a geopolitical tool to undermine U.S. democracy, according to Vivek Ramaswamy. And I may have butchered that name, but he's the author of Woke Incorporated, Inside Corporate America's Social Justice Scam. They, he says, China, are using that to divide us, to use that as a kink in our armor to divide us from within.
adentro, por favor.
ये देखिए आप मार्केट पूरी एक हो गई कोई कह नहीं सकता ये फुटपाथ है
Hostia, la onda expansiva, cuidado los oídos, ¿eh?
Otro bestial. Madre mía. Madre mía, escucha.
Mira, una escucha ahora, escucha ahora. ¡Madre mía! ¡Madre! Pero tuviste la onda expansiva en la nube.
So this is a Dubai sandstorm. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon. The sun should be like bright and the sky should be blue.